Looks like a pizza. You guys, I'm sorry. Hi everybody, welcome back to Awesome Not Otherwise Specified. If you don't know who I am, my name is Megan, and I'm married. I have two beautiful children, and one of which was diagnosed on the spectrum not long ago. And I just want to make a video just talking about what the spectrum is, because there's a stigma out there, and I'll admit that I didn't know what it was, and not knowing. Did you guys hear that? That was my puppy. He's jealous. Anyway, it's important to know what it is because, like I said, there's a stigma out there about it, and I just want to let you guys know what autism spectrum disorder is, and you know what puts my son on the spectrum. So if you're interested, then just keep watching. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is autism spectrum disorder. It's a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. There's no exact scientific cause that they know of for autism. You know, autistic people often look normal, just like you and I, but they're different in the way that they communicate and interact and behave, and they even learn differently. So yeah, they're different from neurotypical people, even if they seem like they look normal. So the criteria that doctors are looking for when they diagnose autism, the main things are speech delay, social interaction, and repetitive or restrictive play or behaviors. Okay, so you might be asking, well, how do they measure it? You know, what is the spectrum? How do they just put people on it? How do they rate the severity of it? Well, in the past, they would have, you know, specific subcategories of the spectrum. They would have autism, Asperger's, and PDD-NOS, which is pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. And currently, as of 2013, they started using what they call the DSM-5. And, you know, that means now that, you know, they don't have the categories of PDD-NOS, Asperger's, autism. It's all under one big autism umbrella. So they categorize it as level 1, 2, or 3, and my son happens to be level 1, so you could say that that's mild, 1, 2, 3, mild, moderate, severe. And so mild level 1 that my son has means requiring support. Moderate level 2 requires substantial support, and then severe level 3 requires very substantial support. To talk about, you know, what puts my son on the spectrum, I'm not going to go in order as to how we really found out. You know, I wouldn't even really know where to start right now. My brain has been so fried. It's been a lot of information to take in, but I will just go through a list of things that I wrote down. Like I said, no chronological order. One of the first things that I guess it could be one of the first things we noticed was a speech delay. We started noticing he had speech issues around 18 months maybe, and I brought it up to his pediatrician, and you know, they didn't really act that concerned. They're like, okay, well, we'll wait until 2 years old, and then by 2, if he doesn't say, you know, all the words that he's supposed to be saying, then we'll do something about it. Well, 2 years old comes, and sure enough, they still don't want to do anything about it. And I was like, okay, well, they're the doctors, not me. I just kind of took a backseat, and, you know, he was saying words, but not near what he should. He was having trouble telling me what he wanted, what he needed. He would often just like whine a lot, which, you know, is still common with toddlers, but you know, it was becoming a problem. Around 2.5, close to 2.5, he actually started speech therapy. We finally got a recommendation, and He did that for a couple months, and then something happened. We had to stop for a little while. I'm sure you guys get it. Insurance, finances, all that good stuff. The next few months, we just kind of really started taking things in about his behavior, and that's when I just knew something was different. So to go along with his speech delay, he would only respond in one word. That's it. And it's not even really a response. He would just say a word. He doesn't answer yes or no. He just turned 3, by the way, for those of you that don't know. And he's just now able to put 2 words together. And usually it's an adjective and a noun. So he'll say, red truck or blue ball or, something like that. But he never answers yes or no. If he needs something, he'll point, or he might say, snack or something, but by now he should be able to put small sentences together, and he's just not there yet. So that's kind of where he's at. You guys, my puppy is like so jealous right now. I have to go pick him up. Hold on. Okay, so another thing to go along with his speech is repetition and echolalia. He repeats words over and over and over. And you think I'm kidding when I say he will not stop, but he really will not stop. Unless I respond. If he says ball, 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 he will keep saying it until I say ball to let him know that, okay, I heard you. I'm going to say it too. For some reason, he just likes that. The echolalia part, if you don't know what echolalia is, I'll give you an example. He repeats things back that were said to him instead of answering the question. So let's say I said, do you want to go to the movies? He might say, movies. Or some people with autism will say the whole phrase, if they're very verbal, or, they might say, do you want to go to the movies? And they'll say, do you want to go to the movies? So that's what echolalia is, and he does a lot of that. He can't say sentences yet, but he does it with words and 2 words sometimes. He'll randomly quote movie lines, like not sentences, but just short phrases like, he loves the Chipmunks. In the second Chipmunks movie, there's a part where they're saying, let us vote, let us vote. And he really, really likes that. So randomly he'll quote stuff like that out of nowhere. It doesn't, his communication, it doesn't have anything to do with, what somebody could be asking him. Like, we went out in public one time, I think we were in Hobby Lobby or something. And anyway, someone came up to him and was like, hi little buddy, how are you doing today? How old are you? And he just goes, let us vote. And that's just his way. People with autism, sometimes that's just their way of communicating. If they don't know what to say, maybe that phrase or something brings them joy, or, that is their way of communicating. So that's just some of the speech things he does. Social issues. We noticed that he wouldn't really interact with other children. He still doesn't. It's very rare if he acknowledges other kids. Strangely enough, he, will walk up to adults sometimes out in public, especially recently, and, say another like random phrase, or he'll say something. He might even get too comfortable, doesn't understand personal space. But with kids, it's like they're not there. And that's really when we started noticing something really wrong, because for a whole year, he didn't even acknowledge Sophia, maybe, and this is pushing it, maybe twice. And I was like, okay, maybe he's jealous or something, but he had the speech delay, so it's not like he could really say what he was feeling. And he wouldn't say her name. He didn't try to play with her. Some kids, or most kids at least, say baby or, something, and he wouldn't do any of that. So just now, over the past like 2 months, he started saying her name and even just acting like she exists. So back to social, he sometimes gets upset over crowds of people. He hasn't really gotten upset in a while over crowds. I think he's getting a little better. But he still does like parallel play, which is playing side by side with other children, but not playing with them. So he doesn't do any interaction. No imaginative play. It's basically play and pretend. I'm sure you know that. But another thing he does is he makes eye contact. Like most people with autism, that's one of the first things that parents notice is the lack of eye contact. Or you can call their name. For months we would call his name over and over and over, and I'm like, this child is so stubborn, like he just ignores me. Or maybe we thought maybe it was his hearing or something, and that's just part of autism. This is just something that they do. A lot of them will try to avoid eye contact. Like I said, Tucker's case is mild, so he will make eye contact, but then a lot of times he won't. Weird habits. Very habitual. Something that we've noticed probably since a year old. I didn't really realize that it was part of this whole thing until now, but milk in the morning. When he first gets up, he has a routine where, I fill up his sippy cup with milk, he drinks the whole thing, period. If we don't do the milk, it's World War III. He will have a meltdown. Sometimes when we're in the car, we will take different routes to get somewhere. He will start bawling, start melting down because we took a different route. He thinks we're going somewhere and we turn down this other street, meltdown. He likes to do things in order, like we went to the mall. Usually we go to the mall with my Nana, and they have a play area and they have the food court right when we walk in. So usually we would go eat first and then go play. Well, one day we just decided, hey, let's go play and then we'll go eat. No. Just no. He had a serious meltdown. Another habit we noticed, which is a big thing with people on the spectrum, is stacking and lining things up. He, of course kids stack blocks up and stuff, but he would do it with everything. Like, cars, he will take his little Hot Wheels and line them up right in a row, and they're all facing the same way. And he has these little dinosaur magnets that he sticks on the fridge. He'll take those down and just stack them up. And he does that with a lot of stuff. The next thing is sensory issues. We noticed he, ever since I can remember, at least since a year to 18 months old, he started reacting differently to like diaper rash creams and lotions and powders. He does not like any kind of ointment, anything like that. He freaks out, especially like diaper rash cream and stuff. I don't know why, he just really hates it. Hates the feel of it. Sticky hands, he doesn't like, when he's eating or something, he'll go hands afterwards, because that's another thing. He uses a spoon if it's something that sticks to the spoon, like yogurt or applesauce. But no matter what he's eating, usually he'll start off with a utensil and then just drop it and start eating with his hands. And that's another common thing for people on the spectrum. We're in the car and it's around sunset, and this, that really bright sunset is just right in your eyes while you're trying to drive. Yeah, well, nobody likes that, but he would freak out. Just start screaming, melting down. He also reacts to certain noises, and this is another thing about people on the spectrum. They just, each person's different. Like some might not like loud noises, some might not like soft noises, or even texture or taste, or the way something feels. He reacts. Loud noises don't really bother him. For example, on his 3rd birthday party, I pumped up about 50 balloons because I'm nuts. And the pumping sound, the ch noise really got to him. He put his hands over his ears and backed up for me because he was interested in what I was doing, but when he heard that noise, something just set him off. And when he, gets uncomfortable, I noticed he'll open his mouth like, so he does that. And, but then when we popped the balloons, it didn't bother him whatsoever. Like the loud popping, which you would think that would bother him more, but like I said, everyone is different. Another thing he really dislikes are those, those sticky, rubbery toys that kids play with, like just any kind of rubbery toys, or the spiky ones, like it could look like a ball, but it's got those little bitty rubber spikes on it. Most kids love them. Some of them light up. He cannot stand those kind of toys. I mean, they really scare him. He'll try to warm up to it sometimes, or sometimes he'll just start screaming and backing up. Even during his psychological evaluation, the doctor tried to get him to play with this little cool, spiky, rubbery toy, and he just wouldn't have it. He just went, ah. So the next thing is OCD tendencies. We started noticing early on that he loved opening and shutting doors. I mean, over and over and over. We're like, okay, maybe he just learned something new, so he's going to keep doing it because it's new. Well, he still does it to this day, over and over. And you can tell he's really pleased doing it. And also, he does the same thing with cabinets and flipping light switches on and off. Once he got tall enough to reach some of our light switches, he really started doing that too. Another OCD thing he does is he'll run, like when we're about to leave the house, he will run to the wall in our living room, which is not far from the front door, but he'll walk and he'll put his back against the wall and will not move. I mean, we've tried everything. We try, saying, okay, bye-bye, we're gonna go, and just seeing if he'll be like, oh no, I'm gonna come with you and just, follow us. But he won't. It's like that compulsion, like, I have to do this, and he won't move until I come over and take him by the hand, and, then we go out. He doesn't fight, he doesn't, he wants to go. It's just, for some reason, he wants to do that. And he used to do it outside. We have a fence outside, separating us from our neighbors, and he used to just run to the corner of the fence. That's one thing he likes. He likes corners, small spaces, but he does it out in public too sometimes. Like, he'll back into tight spaces, like, where the shopping carts are at, let's say I was in, I don't remember where I was at. Maybe, it was Hobby Lobby. Yes, I go to Hobby Lobby a lot, if you can't tell. There was, the little place inside by the automatic doors where you return the carts. Well, there's a small, very small space. I almost couldn't get through to get him out, but he wanted to go in there as soon as we got in, and, backed in there, and you could tell he was really happy, like, oh, I like being in this spot. And he didn't want to come out. So that's another thing he likes to do. Unaware of feelings. So back in December, I'm not even going to go there, but there was an altercation, like, I guess you could say that, it wasn't violent or anything, but there was something with a family get-together that happened, and he, really acted inappropriately. Like, he really acted inappropriately to the situation. Like, my daughter could tell that there was something going on, so she gets upset. Here she is, she's only a year old, and she is aware of things going on around her. But, my son was the opposite. He was sitting there, my daughter's screaming because she's uncomfortable, because she can tell there's something going on, and he's just sitting here eating caramel corn, like, and smiling and laughing. And I've noticed in the past, like, if I'm crying or something, he's not aware of how others are feeling, and that's another big thing. to look out for. And the last thing is meltdowns. This is another kicker that we noticed. And I can't say how long it was going on, but because there was a point when, when he was 1, we were like, wow, the terrible twos must have come early. And then when he was 2, we're like, okay, now he's not throwing any tantrums. It was very odd because he wasn't throwing any tantrums for a few months. And then I guess around 2.5, he really started having meltdowns. Like, they were random. I couldn't tell where they were coming from. And that was the most frustrating part because, I wanted to help him. I didn't know. I thought maybe he was just whining because he didn't get his way, because you know how toddlers are. And that wasn't the case though. He was inconsolable. Like, we were in the dollar store one day, and I still don't know what set him off, but we were getting ready to check out. He's in the cart. My daughter's in the front, buckled in, but he's in the actual big part of the cart. And he just starts going ballistic. I mean, screaming, trying to jump out of the cart. I was like, you are going to hurt yourself. And I'm trying to pay for my stuff, and I'm trying to control him. And he would just kick and scream and hit and start flapping his hands. That's another big thing to look for, hand flapping. It was just very unlike him though, because, some kids on the spectrum can be described as slightly aggressive, and, like I said, everyone's different. So maybe that's not the case, but for him, my son, it just was not him. And even now, he's not an aggressive kid. He doesn't try to hurt others or himself or whatever. But when he has these meltdowns, he was inconsolable. He would do things, like I said, he tried to jump out of the cart, really almost hurting himself, and just screaming and kicking and hitting. And, that's when I really noticed that there was a time period for a couple months where it was really happening frequently. And then afterwards, he would be so drained. You could tell it just took all of his energy out. And it really upset me because I wanted to help him. And I was like, I just don't know what's wrong. I started kind of asking on Facebook, some friends. I'm like, I can't take these tantrums anymore. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. And then I had a Facebook friend, someone I used to work with, and I'm sure you're watching, so shout out to you, girl. She's the one who actually commented on my Facebook status about autism. And I really appreciate her being so honest, because, a lot of people are afraid to bring things up for fear of, parents, especially when it comes to their children, getting offended. If someone's trying to help you, you shouldn't get offended. Don't take it to heart. It's someone who's trying to help you, especially if you're asking for help, then you're really asking for other people's opinions. But anyway, so at that point I was like, okay, so autism. And it really just didn't seem like my son, I was like, well, let's see what autism is. So I started doing some research, and a lot of things started kind of clicking. I think most people think that autism strictly affects your intelligence, but that's not even the case, because my son and plenty of other autistic children and adults alike are very, very smart, either average or above average intelligence. Sometimes it can affect your intelligence, but I think there's a stigma about it that needs to be broken. And that's the importance of bringing awareness and educating people about it. But yeah, everything that I'd seen about autism was the most extreme cases, like they'll show on the news, or they'll put in movies, or no one talks about the subtleties of autism. you know, those symptoms that are there, but you just don't, if you don't know what you're looking for, then how can you know what's going on? After that, you know, I told my husband my findings, and, you know, at first, and he will, you know, be the first to tell you, he was against it at first about, you know, taking him to the pediatrician and having him checked out and all that, because he thought the same thing. He's like, our son is not autistic. And I was just, you know, I had that feeling. I was like, no, okay, I'm gonna take him and I'll let you know what they say. So he's like, okay. We took him to the pediatrician, and that's when, you know, they gave him a referral to a psychologist. And our first visit, right off the bat, you know, he was like, are you guys worried about autism? And, you know, without me even bringing it up, he said that. And I'm like, yeah, to be honest. I've been doing a lot of research, and this is what I think. And so he pretty much, at that point, said it without diagnosing him. We had an appointment coming up for some official testing. So we came back a few weeks later, and that's when he was diagnosed officially on the spectrum. Mild autism level 1 and ADHD, to throw that in there too. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any requests or questions or anything, just let me know in the comments, and we will see you next time. Say bye-bye. Oh. Anakin is jealous. He had to come too. Can you say bye-bye?